Yo, welcome back to another video, fellas. So, in usual style, you see the title down below. Let's dive right in. So, kind of what I wanted to go over in this video is talking about kind of why every man needs a code, and why simply going without one is keeping you stuck in where you are in life right now. I think in today's age, a lot of men just have no direction, no sense of purpose. We're too busy living like side characters in our own movie, waiting for someone, waiting for a handout, or worse, I used to be guilty of this too, but it's like you have a project in mind, you want to go after it, and you just feel that you can't do it alone. You can't do it solo. You can't get the information for yourself to start a solo. You need someone else. You need someone to be a part of it. Get most of the deals, which I'm all about collaboration and help and brotherhood and all that. But collectively, especially when it comes to a brotherhood, each person has a piece to share for themselves. Each person has value to give to the community as a whole. But if you can't simply have your own values, your own inputs to provide, to contribute into that brotherhood, then that's exactly what I mean. You have no code yourself. And the thing is, in that type of environment, it's going to be sniffed out when you're not, and where that comes from is when you're not putting in the work. That's simply it. So in this video, man, I just kind of want to break down in terms of how you can get out of that rut, because that's what I just see a lot of times, especially when it comes in today's modern time with men having no code. So first thing I want to mention before we dive into the video, guys, if you're someone right now looking to burn stubborn belly fat, especially going into the next year, man, you don't want to be the motherfucker waiting, still out of shape going into 2026. So if that's sounding like you and you're interested in terms on working with me one-on-one, there'll be a link down below where you can book a call with me. We can go over in terms of what I offer in the program, see what's suitable to you in terms of workout plan and diet plan. And from there, we can see if we would be a good fit to work each other for the next months going forward and going into the next year, guys. So if you're interested, click that link down below and book a call with me. But anyways, back to the video. So the first point I want to talk about in terms of having your own code, the first thing I really want to kind of explain is just taking ownership of your life, right? If you have no ownership in anything in terms of your life, you have no power. You have really no say-so. So this was a big thing for me, especially when it came to leveling up as a man and how men can do the same, is once you start actually taking responsibility for everything that you do, and I mean everything in terms of why you're not in shape, everything in terms of why your money is not the way it is, absolutely everything in terms of why your life is the way it is right now. The moment you finally take ownership is the only way you'll move forward with a lot of things in terms of bettering yourself, in terms of improving yourself, right? Because yes, we all, everyone has scenarios, your scenarios could be different than mine, vice versa. But the true difference is only going to take place once you start taking ownership of that. Once you start being like, it is my fault. That's the very first step you got to do, guys, because without it, you're going to run into this thing that we call ego, bigger than the program, thinking you know it all when you really absolutely don't. Seeing someone in the position that you want to be, but thinking that you understand what it takes when you're not even doing the necessary steps to get you there. But on top of that, you're running with your ego saying, I can do that but better. But you can't. And you can't. But what's getting in the way of that? That ego. So once we can actually bring our level down to understanding that maybe I can't take advice on this because I've been struggling on this for a while, and I know if I can accept the proper help, I can improve in this area of my life. Once you tell yourself, you know, I'm exactly where I am right now because of my choices, and I'm not letting no circumstance define that for me. I'm not gonna let that circumstance be the thing I cope with for the rest of my life. And I tell people that I'm not in this position because of so-and-so and so-and-so, because guess what? There's always someone doing worse than you. There's someone right now, I see it downtown every single day I go by. There is someone literally on the fucking pavement floor with whatever material around, whether that's old clothes, whether that's just cardboard box, using that as damn fucking blankets, sheets, while you're over here looking at this video complaining, talking about I'm not where I need to be. Motherfucker, at least you got a damn roof over your head. Oh, I don't have these certain foods like these other influencers because they got money. Motherfucker, you got a fucking fridge to walk to and open up and see what's inside. So when a lot of people say, oh, this and that, there's always remember there's someone doing a lot worse than you right now. So if you have the privilege to even look at this damn video, like and comment on it and subscribe on my page, which you should do if you haven't. But if you have that luxury and privilege to be able to do that, while you got dudes out here who don't even have a house, let alone Wi-Fi, let alone a goddamn phone to watch this video in the first place, I don't want to hear it, man. I don't want to hear no excuse talking about, because you still have the chance to turn your life around and take the advice that you're getting and go towards a better future. Not saying the same person through that struggle can't do the same, but understand your advantage, and the only way you can start that is to understand the privilege that you do actually have and start just taking ownership, start taking responsibility. Because that same person in the street still has the opportunity to push forward and still turn their life around. But you watching this video right now, you have a much more advantage. That's all I can say. Both of y'all can still push forward in your lives, but you watching this right now has a greater chance of progressing towards that direction very quickly than, unfortunately, the man in the street. That's the simple truth. So let me go over to my next point. My next point that I want to bring out is basically talking about how your discipline is basically your currency, right? A lot of people want to talk about, oh, my money isn't where it is because of this and that, or, you know, I'm not in shape because this is or that. But it truly comes down to the habits that you guys on an everyday basis. The discipline is your currency. You know, if you're still having money problems, it's not because, it's not whatever excuse you're coming up with in your head. It's simply you don't have discipline with your money. That's what it comes down to. I've been guilty of this as well. You know, you hear so much advice online, but to simply put it, the more disciplined you are as a person, the more disciplined you'll have with a lot of things. You know, same discipline you have the 9 to 5 is the same discipline you're going to carry when you have your own business that you're running, guys. And this is why I so heartily believe, not only just to promote my own biz, but it's just like, this is why I've always believed fitness was the first foundation of that. Now, a lot of people don't got to go in my direction of kind of heading towards a bodybuilding route. Simply for me, not doing it for simply for me, I wanted to go into bodybuilding because that's what I always loved. You know, I have huge admirations for people like Ronnie Coleman and Lee Priest. You know, those two guys, and even a YouTuber I used to follow back then, Anthony Mantello. Like, those guys right there always got me into kind of wanting to go towards that bodybuilding route. But I say that all to say, right, the one thing in terms of bodybuilding that taught me, especially when I was in prep with my coach and all that stuff, was the discipline it takes. The discipline it takes, especially when it comes to having your meals. The discipline it takes to, once you start cutting off cheat meals, because there is a way to implement cheat meals into your diet, but there's a certain point where you got to cut that shit off to get to a certain body fat percentage. You know? But not only that, I always bring it back to a story I remember when I first got with my coach, and I was working at a job, and I remember texting him one moment because, yeah, I don't mind saying this in the video, but I used to work at a bar. This is during college and stuff like that. So, like, in terms of just like money or anything, like, I picked up whatever job and that's what was available to me. So I worked at this bar, and I remember when I joined them up, at this point I wasn't really too much like fond of drinking, to be honest. So, you know, ironically, I happened to, you know, be at a job that has that all around me, you know. And again, that's why I bring up the college thing, because at that point, if for everyone who knows, you're just looking for a job to make some funds to get by throughout the week, you know. So I remember texting them though and being like, hey, like, what are your thoughts on drinking? I already knew the answer, as mostly everyone does. I already knew the answer, but his response to it is what I really loved. And I remember asking him about drinking and during prep and stuff. He told me it's fine once in a while. No, my fault. Let me correct that. He said, if you want to do it, you can. It all matters in the results you want. Simply put, he's not telling me no, he's not telling me yes. He simply said, it's all in the matter of the results you want. And I already knew my answer after that. But going back to that point, it's with everything. It's with everything that you do. And the discipline I gained through being in prep for a year, not stepping out as much. Honestly, the discipline that it takes upon your life in terms of shifting you into a different person. That's what the discipline does. It shifts you into a new person, of the way you think with everything. You know, not only just the bodybuilding and, you know, being able to hit my meals and, you know, I drop the body fat. No, it's not only that. The discipline it taught me about myself in terms of different factors when it came to finances, when it came to business, the same rule applies. And that's why I mean the discipline is your currency. That's why you see a lot of guys in great positions in terms of the business, physique, all that. Where does it stem from? It stems from the discipline of doing things that you know you need to do, even though when you don't feel like it. When I drop my videos out, getting back into it, making promises that I have to keep to myself in terms of, if I want to post at this amount of videos per week, I have to stick by that. Getting back to anything, let alone starting something new, is always going to be the hardest that first week. Everyone knows it. It's always going to be hard. The hardest is always going to be that first week coming into it. But then once you start building the discipline and the consistency of doing it over and over again, that's the currency building, stacking up, because it's going to apply with everything. When I had to think about certain meals that I had to eat throughout the day, getting in a gallon of water throughout the day, how do you think I'm going to maneuver, especially when I'm getting income per week? Instead of thinking about buying some dumb shit, I had to think about in terms of, okay, I know how food is and all that stuff, so I got to adjust the way I spend. But guess what? Adjusting the way you spend takes discipline, because now you're altering a different way of how you spend your money. You start thinking about the things that actually matter now. Because you start trend to look at things as an investment for a period of time, or maybe lifestyle, compared to how you were spending shit before, through comfort, through pleasure, through convenience. Because motherfuckers will be surprised of how they get out of shape eating fucking junk when you just used it as a crutch, as a convenience to you. Oh, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna eat the shittiest food, and then wonder later on why your energy is so low. It comes from the discipline, guys. Same thing with places you choose to be around, people you like to be around, you know, stepping outside for the weekends when your boys call you out and all that stuff. And look, I'm not saying you got to cancel all your boys, but you got to understand, if you really want change in your life, there's certain people that got to get cut off. Point blank. And you guys know who it is. You guys know who it is. If you want to get right in the gym, and in terms of drinking, go back to the point that my coach mentioned. You know, what kind of results do you want? If you really know you want the results in terms of being ripped, being in shape, but I can tell you that comes with an identity shift. So if you can understand that, and you understand what it takes, and you have a certain individual moving the opposite direction, guess what? You're going to have to cancel that motherfucker. You're going to have to. Because you know the discipline it requires you to take to get the physique that you want. And that's with everything, guys. So that's point number 2 in terms of the discipline. The discipline is your currency. The discipline is your currency. And that's a code that you have to follow. But let's get to the next point. The next point I want to bring upon in this video, which is so key, is leadership. Like leadership, right? The thing about leadership, guys, in all of reality, it's not the most popular thing. And I know that may come to a shock for you guys, because we all hear these fucking buzz terms and aura and, him and shit. But the traits and the discipline and what it takes to really be that isn't sexy to a lot of motherfuckers, bro. That's keeping it honest. It's not the sexiest thing. It really isn't. A lot of people don't want it. A lot of people don't want the responsibility. A lot of people don't want the responsibility of you being on point in every occasion. Every occasion. Showing up for yourself, representing yourself in the best version of yourself each and every single day. Waking up on time. Making sure your people are good. Making sure your business is running efficiently. And adding on top of that, coming up with new ways every single day. Not Monday through Friday, every single day. Ways to help out more than just yourself. being a visionary to understand that a lot of people aren't going to get it now, but then in a few more years in time, when you've been sticking to your code, and then it all makes sense and everyone's just like, wow, how did you do it? But you had to fight the opinions of that every single day. Leadership, guys. The thing that people love to talk about but don't want to do. That's another shift in your code as a man that you have to get to, no matter what. Leadership, not seeking approval from friends, from family. What do you know you need to do on an every single day basis and follow through? What do you know you have to do on an everyday basis to know that this will get you to where you want to be, and follow that all the way through the year? Not New Year's, no, not waiting till Monday. No, every day when you wake up, what you do throughout that time to the time you go to bed. What you do throughout that day. Is it improving you and the people around you and the journey, and is it improving yourself in the journey that you took in order to become the man that you need to be? Start being the leader. Start leading by example. That's another code that we have to follow as men. Because if we're cool with just being side characters, you're never gonna know what's life is truly like. Living your damn life as your own movie. You're never gonna know. You're never gonna experience that. You're always gonna seek approval. And you'll always be the enemy to yourself by doing that shit. You'll always be the enemy to yourself. Because there are going to come moments and times when you're tested. When you don't have your boy around. And you have to make the decision for yourself. And if you're always constantly needing help, needing approval, needing someone to speak highly of you, or you always need someone to defend you, you're gonna get eaten alive in this world, man. Because no one cares at the end of the day. But to be your own man, to have your own presence, to take on responsibility for you, not for anyone else, but then comes a community that you help around you. The people that you love, the family you have to take care of in the near future. Once you start putting yourself in the position of leadership and taking on responsibility, that's when that code can be a part of you, and you can continue on your journey of self-improvement and being the best version of yourself. But let's get to the next point in this video. And the next point I want to talk about is protecting your energy, guys. Your energy and where your attention goes is so important. But a lot of people tend to just treat it as it's just energy, you're not feeling it. But there's always reasons for certain things. There's always reasons why your energy fluctuates or it feels draining on the day-to-day, right? Some can say you're not getting enjoyment to the things that you do. But what a lot of people don't talk about is the habits that you do can be leading to the energy that you're draining on the day-to-day basis. Your energy within your mind, which is so important, where your attention is going. Especially in this day and age where we got our simple devices in our hand, where we can be so distracted through the day, but not knowingly know that all this shit is draining, guys. All these distractions are draining you on a consistent basis, to the point where you just start living in misery. can't even get up and feel enthusiastic or hyped about the thing that you want to do because you're not going towards that. You're constantly being distracted. Some of you guys still have vices in your life that take control of you, and you want to blame it on family, which look, we all have different upbringings. We all have to go through things, but you can't let those things define you, especially as a man. You have to have a code within yourself to protecting your energy. Because if you can easily be distracted, you can easily let vices control you, you'll never be the man, you'll never be the best version of yourself that you truly know you can be, you can become. You know, for me, I think it always started in terms of my surrounding. So most of my life, you know, I grew up with some good friends, of course, but the mentality I got in terms of when it came to the field, for guys who don't know, I played soccer. So the mentality of the like-minded folks where I had championship runs with, the mentality and the shared commonality of the people around me in that environment drove that energy in an upwards direction, right? But I think it trends with everything and the people you're around, the places that you go. So for example, right, let's say a friend or any friend amongst your group who's always negative, to back talking, all that stuff, that energy is gonna rub off onto you to where you start doing the same traits, you're gonna start complaining yourself. You know, all that stuff is draining, but you have to be aware of that and catch on to that early, especially as you grow up. And to be honest, guys, we can't be afraid to cut that shit off, especially early on, guys. Especially early on, you cannot be afraid to let go of people like that. Sometimes it's family too. But the thing is with family, I don't want you guys to mistake it to being like, oh, you know, so-and-so was like this and that. You know, have grace with family a little bit, but sometimes it takes that, even that. You know, if you're at home with your family and you're still building up your life and stuff, you can't really just sit there and be like, oh, well, they don't care about me, they're negative. No, they're helping your fucking ass out. They're helping your ass out, having a fucking spot to stay in. So damn well they have all right to say anything they want. But you have to do it in ways, if that is your situation, you have to do it in ways where it's just like, you have to still respect the support they're giving you, but at the same time, you can always distance yourself. You know, find something that you're working towards while they allow you to stay at their spot still and continue leveling up. But you can always step away from that specific spot. You can always distance yourself, do what's required, but don't do more than that. But in terms of just friends or people who are negative and don't contribute any positivity in your life, you have to simply get rid of that immediately. And when it comes to vices and being around people who drink and all this stuff, guys, if that's something that you know you have to get rid of, just start today. Just do it. And I promise you, you'll thank yourself for months going on. You'll thank yourself months later. So that's one point. That's something I want to talk about in terms of just protecting your energy. You know, really understand and don't be distracted. Don't be distracted, because it's easier, especially in this day, it's a lot easier to be distracted than it is to fully be focused and understand where your attention is going and how you protect your energy. It's super important to do, guys. But let's go over to my next point. And with this next point, it comes with just building the body that matches your code. You know, you hear this talk about body game and the importance of it, and how you command the respect in the room when you enter in with a certain physique. I'm here to say that's all true. That's all true. That's why, in terms of why fitness is so popular and people are on the edge of on it, and you know, the main talk is having that physique. Truly, you have to think of it as your body is your armor. You know what I mean? Your body is your armor. The thing that exudes out to people, but not only to people, yourself. You know, so when you build that body that commands that respect, that commands that discipline, that's going to be the fundamental. That's why I always say, man, fitness is always the first thing that you can start right away in terms of this journey of having your own code. You know, because what it takes to acquire that certain physique, let alone keep it, is the man who honors his code and follows it on the day-to-day basis when it comes to what he eats, when it comes to what he puts in his body. Everything of that nature matters. But that comes with having a code. That's what it comes from. That's the cheat code. Because a man without a code is simply a person who's just living for the sake of existing, but there's no purpose, there's nothing driving him forward. There's nothing more to it than that. But when you have a code, now you have purpose. Now you're in the position of leadership. You're in the position of wanting to take on the responsibility because you know what it takes. Now you're building the physique that commands that right away. But not only commands that, but it takes a certain mentality shift to understand what got you here and how you carry it, how you carry that on going forward. You know, what it takes, and applying that to all factors into your life. So building that physique, man, building that physique is another part of a code that a man must take. So I say this to say, guys, most men live like co-characters in their life, co-captains, living off the sideline, being on the passenger seat, never experiencing what it's like to take ownership of their life. You know, so if that sounded like you, man, really adhere to the advice being said on this video, because it's never too late for you. It's never too late for you, and you can start implementing these codes into your life starting today. You know, so you know, forget living this life as a side character, a background character, because every one of y'all deserve to feel and be important in anywhere you go, any room that you step in. And especially when it comes to certain brotherhoods, you as well have value that you can give into that community. But it all comes from having that code and putting in the work for yourself. And with that code, you'll finally identify as that captain, as that leader. But if you don't, you'll stay average. You'll stay not being looked at or taken serious in any endeavor of your life. So hope this video gave you value, guys. And look, going into that next year, man, don't be the motherfucker waiting. If you want to work in terms of your physique and handling that first step in terms of a man's code, there'll be a link down below where you can click and book a call with me and see where you're at in terms of your fitness goals. And let's see what kind of plan we can come up with going forward. But definitely be sure to book that call if you're serious in terms of changing your life in that aspect alone. But if you're new to the channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'll be coming out with more videos coming next week as well as this weekend, so stay tuned for that. But until then, peace.